I was like 80 years old now, at least.
Yeah, but still, they're probably on the Tea Party together.
Wrestlemania 7, where terrorism reigns supreme, and where people retire, and
Unfortunately.
women cry. Streaks begin, streaks end. But before we get started, there was an interesting dark match here. There was two jobbers, two of the most well-known jobbers of all time, Coco Beware and the Brooklyn Brawler, fighting it out. And in a huge surprise shock, Coco Beware gets the big win.
Yeah, but I couldn't see him.
You know, we didn't even watch that match. It was the dark match.
Oh.
How fitting is it that Coco Beware was in the dark match? Okay, the show opened up with Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty versus the Barbarian and Haku. You were there for this one, remember? The opening match, the tag match.
Oh, yeah.
There was lots of knocking into each other.
It was hard.
It was okay.
It was
okay.
There was a lot of knocking into each other.
The Texas Tornado versus Dino Bravo.
Dino Bravo was the guy who looked like the Skyfall villain, right?
Yeah, he looks like the villain from Skyfall here with his slick back hair.
Yeah, that match was alright.
It was alright. There was a few good hits.
Hey guys, I gotta check something. Keep reviewing. Up next we had the British Bulldog versus the Warlord. Remember Kano?
Yeah.
Talk about him a little bit. I'll be back in a second.
Looked like Kane off Mortal Kombat.
I liked him better than the British Bulldog, personally.
British Bulldog is classic.
He's classic, but his gimmick is a mutt.
Unfortunately,
mutt.
he took off his Kano mask, which was kind of sad. But other than that, it was an alright match. The next match, the Nasty Boys versus the Hart Foundation.
Bret Hart.
Yeah, we got the Hitman right here representing Bret Hart.
That match was terrible.
It was pretty bad. Dad, go away. Now's not the time. No. Who do you like more, Hulk Hogan or Sergeant Slaughter?
Hulk Hogan.
What do you think about Sergeant Slaughter turning into an Iraqi sympathizer?
I don't know if that's completely true.
We're back, everybody. We were talking about the Nasty Boys. What do you guys have to say about the Nasty Boys?
They oversold it quite much, I'd say.
Well, yeah, once the Nasty Boys won, they had a creepy celebration backstage. They were pouring beer on each other. And there was some girl, and they were all crowding around the girl, and it was just creepy.
We were popping bottles and mollies.
Yeah, it was quite the tremendous celebration.
For being so filthy.
The Hitman would have better days. He would have better days. Up next, we had Jake Roberts versus Rick Martel in a blindfolded match. Basically, both guys had executioner hats on, and they couldn't see. And, yeah, they basically went out there and wrestled without being able to see. Somehow, in the build-up to this, Jake Roberts was blinded and he was rolling around on the ground like he had just had a seizure. And then his one eye was red and his other eye just had nothing there.
But what do you mean nothing there? Like,
it was just white.
It was just normal eye.
Oh,
it was just 100% white. Just pure white.
Like he starts talking about snakes. He's like, they have six senses. They can see in the dark.
Yeah, and
something like that.
And they returned the Seaman Ray was there. Only this time they said there was perfume in it or something.
I thought it was snake venom.
And then it got stepped on, and then Jake the Snake wrapped the snake around his own neck and tried to commit suicide in the ring. That was a sad moment, and yeah, it was just tear-jerking right there. It was a very epic moment. Speaking of epic moments, we had The Undertaker making his debut at Wrestlemania against Jimmy the Superfly Snuka.
And we all know who wins that, so we're not even going to say it.
It was a squash match, and Taker won. What do you think of The Undertaker, Hitman?
I don't know much about the man.
Yeah. So,
he just wins every WrestleMania. That's all you need to know. He never loses.
Yeah, he's undefeated. Yeah, they said something in there. And, yeah. Up next, Randy Savage versus Warrior.
And a retirement match.
There was retirement on the line, and Sensational Sari was out there, and she lived up to her name.
She was terrible. She looked hideous with that weird makeup on.
She was pretty hot if you cut off her head. Her hair was pretty bad, and her makeup was pretty bad.
It was like really kinky.
She looked really nice in that dress, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, the dress was hot, but her makeup was too kinky.
In the end, there was 5 elbow drops.
In a row.
Yeah, Warrior kicked out of that. Savage kicked out of Warrior's finisher. That stuff wasn't done very much back then. Really good, really fantastic match. And in the end, just ask Nino, what was I doing when Savage and Elizabeth came back together at the end?
Crying into his pillow.
And my cat.
Oh yeah, and your cat. You started crying into his cat.
No cat deserves that kind of punishment.
It was very emotional.
Unless the cat was crying too, there's no reason to do that.
Oh, he had fun.
Up next, we got Genichiro Tenryu and Koji Kitao versus Demolition. Nobody cares about Demolition here. They're retarded. They're the big red F-tards. And I have a funny story about Kitao. Supposedly he was a douchebag backstage. Nobody liked him. And he always picked fights with people. And a certain guy named John Tenta, who you guys know as the Earthquake, got in a legit fight with him during a match. So, like a legit fist fight, and he beat him up. So
good.
I saw that. That was an interesting thing. So yeah, garbage. Big Boss Man versus Mr. Perfect. Remember how this one came about?
Yeah, after the Giant just killed everybody.
There was bullying. Mr. Perfect was telling Big Boss Man that his mom wore a paper bag everywhere and lived in a trailer. What do you
Sounds
think?
familiar.
What do you think of bullying, Hitman?
It's not very good, but some people take it way. When they're not being bullied, a kid picks on them a little bit and they go crazy and stick their own fingers.
Watch the documentary Bully.
Yeah, so
watch the documentary.
Andre's last WrestleMania appearance, he would die a couple years later, so that's cool.
No, it's not. He dies.
Virgil defeated Ted DiBiase by count out. The whole entire match, Nino was sitting there trying to impress me with his joke. He would take his sunglasses and put them on and say he can't see Virgil anymore. So that was interesting. And Roddy Piper was supporting Virgil for some reason, which was terrible. I know I told the story on another review, but yeah, Virgil, I saw him at WrestleCon, and nobody was looking at him. Nobody was even looking at him. I would rather talk to some random person than Virgil. He tried to usher me over to his thing to say hi, but I was like, no, Virgil, I don't like you. You're terrible. So yeah, Virgil sucks. The Mountie and Tito Santana.
The Mountie, is he Canadian?
Yeah, and he stabs people with an electric socket.
Taser. Or whatever you want to call it.
He stabs them, and that's how he won this match.
He just stabs everyone.
It was a squash. And then we got to the main event with some of the most epic build in history. We had Hulk Hogan versus Sergeant Slaughter. The whole deal being that Sergeant Slaughter used to represent the United States, but now he's an Iraqi sympathizer. And
Iraqi patriot?
Yeah, he's an Iraq patriot now. I think Iron Sheik was out there.
We'll go figure, it's Iron Sheik.
And there was blood, and this was actually kind of a fun match.
Yeah, it was, I remember it.
He pinned him with the flag and he kicked out. That was cool. And Hogan won in the end, of course.
Like always?
Yeah, that's how it always ended in these early years. Hulk Hogan main evented almost every single one of the WrestleManias until 10.
Good. We're on next.
Yep. So, it's rough. It really is rough to go through this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, final wrap-up thoughts.
I don't know.
Nino, what are you going to give the show out of 10? Drop me, big
4.
4?
Yes.
I'm going to go 6. What are you going to go, Hitman?
5.
Okay, that rounds us up to a 5 out of 10. So, yeah, I guess it's getting a little bit better.
All right.
Okay.
Making matches.
Peace out.